There were 100,000 sports-related head injuries among youth in 2012. 20,000 of those were from football-related injuries, as you can see on this table here. Actually, it was just over 20,000. Concussions have been really big in the media here of late. And one way that we can get on the offense rather than the defense of this issue is to focus on two of these aspects: the introduction of proper technique at an early age, as well as the insistence of safety. Introducing the proper technique is extremely important, as I said, especially at an early age. Insisting safety in any sport is extremely important. One question that people like to ask when talking about concussions in football is, should we limit practice, and especially should we limit contact practice? According to Dr. Mickey Collins, the Executive Director of UPMC Sports Medicine Concussion Program, concussions happen most often during the games. So the answer to that question would obviously be, no, we should not limit contact practices. We really need to have more contact practices so that we can teach the proper technique. You're going to learn that in the practice. We also need to have more training. The coaches need to be trained. Most often in the younger leagues, the Pee Wee football leagues, we have dads coaching. And a lot of times those dads are just the dads that are willing to get up and coach, that want to be involved in their sons' lives. They're not trained football players. A lot of them may have not even had a background in football. The only qualifications that they usually have to have are passing a background check. USAFootball.com actually offers a training course for $25 a year. Another thing that we need to remember when teaching our young people to play football is the head is not a weapon. As you can see here, we have, and this is the NFL, which they should be using the proper technique. We have 3 football players that are coming here to the ball, and their heads are all coming together. As you see here, it says a head first tackle often leads to a concussion. A concussion is a bruise on the brain. When we have a bruise on our body, you can see the bruise on the skin, and you know where the point of impact was, and you can feel it, and you actually see the physical evidence of the bruise. When you have a bruise on your brain, you don't actually see that physical evidence of the bruise. But there is an actual bruise, and there is a lasting long-term effect of the bruise. I'm not qualified to talk about the long-term effects of brain injuries, but they're significant. Which brings us to safety. We really need to bring this issue up because we need to be safe, especially when talking about young people. Purdue University did a study using helmet sensors. They actually implanted sensors into the helmets of football players at Lafayette Jeff High School in Lafayette, Indiana. And what these sensors did was they actually measured the intensity of the blow for each of the hits that the players received, and they also measured or counted the number of blows that the players received. And what they did was they looked at the players and they said, okay, these players got hit in the head. Which ones have symptoms of a concussion? Okay, these players have the symptoms. These players got hit in the head and they do not have symptoms. Let's go ahead and scan all of them and see who has a concussion. Several of the players who did not have symptoms ended up having a concussion. Just because you don't have a symptom of a concussion doesn't mean you might not have a concussion. It's really important to be aware that anybody can get a concussion even if you don't have the symptoms. Coaches need to be aware of that. Coaches need to be aware that if a child gets hit in the head, they need to come out of the game. No matter how important that next play is. It doesn't matter if they're the quarterback or the best running back or the best tight end, that player still needs to come out of the game. The play's never going to be that important. The child's life is the most important. We need to sideline those players. That's a big thing that coaches need to remember. Parents need to be informed. Parents need to know why their children are coming out of the game, and they also need to know what to look for in their kids, and they need to know to take their kids to the doctor and to take their kids to a specialist and to know what to look for. In conclusion, I would just like to say that we all need to take a closer look at youth football, and we need to just to know how to be safe and how to implement proper technique. And even though this is a big number and this might seem a little bit startling, it's not ending. We don't need to get rid of youth football. We just need to figure out a way to make it a little bit safer so we can all still enjoy it. With that being said, are there any questions that I can answer for you today?
Since you have researched this information, would you allow your son to play football at a young age?
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot being done to make football safer, especially with the helmet sensors. And another thing is the helmet sensors, it was able to tell whether or not the helmets were safe enough and whether the helmets were absorbing much of the blow. So I think that the equipment's getting better and better. So yes, if I have a son and if he wanted to play football when he got old enough, yes, I would say it would be okay to play football. Have any more questions?
How would you propose a plan for a football league whose funding is very limited? How would you think that these coaches and dads could afford to go to like these seminars or the trainings?
That's a tough question. Unfortunately, it does take money a lot of times to make programs bigger and better. But you know, we really can't put a price tag on safety. We still need to be safe if we want the programs to be the best that they can be when it comes to making sure that our kids are getting the best quality and the best the safest possible training. I would say fundraising is key. The other thing I would say is look for free clinics, especially with universities. A lot of high school coaches want better programs, so they're a lot of times willing to teach the younger Pee-wee leagues. Those coaches, they're willing to teach them so that their players are a little bit better when they get to high school. So I would say looking for those opportunities as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.